So we could save $66,500 if we reduced autumn treasures to one day and cut out the kids zone. So I'm going to move to do that.
It will also significantly impact your downtown business sales for that Sunday. That's a big Sunday, significantly higher than a normal Sunday for especially our downtown bars and restaurants. So take that into consideration too.
So it would affect the revenue that's coming in?
It would absolutely affect the revenue that's coming in for our small businesses, yes.
Well, and speaking to some of the business, most of the business other than the restaurants and bars, they have all, said to me that they have an increase in foot traffic, but it doesn't necessarily translate to sales. So then that revenue piece isn't there. And I've just gone in and out just because in preparation for this, I wanted to know how much it would impact. And by and large, other than the food places, all the other stores feel like, yes, they get an increase in foot traffic, but that does not translate to sales.
So the motion was to reduce autumn treasures to one day. Any other questions on this topic, or do we feel prepared to make a vote for this? Commissioner Westlake, are you okay to make a vote on this topic at this time? Okay. So the motion was to reduce autumn treasures to a one-day event. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Motion carries. It's a one-day event. Thank you.
All right,
One of the things that I was recommending in the email that I had sent out was a reduction to the business development budget. That's a line item that is still relatively new compared to the age of the town, and I was recommending a reduction back to the 23-24 budget levels.
I move to cut the business development budget by $120,000.
There's a motion on the floor. All in favor? All opposed? All right, that motion fails. Sorry.
I'd like to propose, like I did at another budget meeting, to delay the COLA and police raises till January. That should save us $600,000 in the short term, I believe you said. I think this is a good compromise, and I think that the officers are here and speaking to you in the last year and a half that we've been speaking. You've said they're not going anywhere. They're really happy here. They're going to be really happy in January.
So we heard from Rosie, and the comment was that her department was the only responsible one, which makes me believe that Commissioner Daunt feels the other departments that just presented
I did not say she was the only responsible one. I said
irresponsible with their budgets, because that's
no.
exactly what he said.
No, I
You
wasn't.
can play it back.
Not really. It's you three who have been irresponsible. Yeah,
No, don't do
with
that.
all of
Don't do
the
that.
inflated budgets that you've passed over the
It's not the
years.
inflated budgets that we passed. We're not even going there. We're talking about tonight. We're talking about dealing with this budget, and the budgets weren't inflated. If they were so inflated, we would not have gotten an A+ credit rating that we got, and we wouldn't have had the finance people who come in and audit our books say that our books were in good condition and everything else. We would not have gotten that.
You only
So
get a
it's
good
not
credit
that we
rating
were
because
financially
you use your
irresponsible
taxpayers
people
as
and we put us
collateral.
that. You're not going to say that and do that to us, because that's not true.
It's not
But
true.
we are also not going to sit here and make cuts without a plan, a specific plan moving forward as to what that is going to look like for the town. The interim town manager has presented a budget. He has altered that and reduced that rate by 1%. Mayor Murray here has reduced that by another 1%, and still that is not satisfying you. Staff members have stood up here, almost in tears, one of them, or a couple of them, and presented to you how things have been done and what their departments look like and what they will need moving forward. And still that is not satisfying you. So you are not shifting that over here, and you are not pushing that and saying, you three, this is a board as a whole that we have to come to a conclusion with each other how we move forward for the best interest of this town.
Amen.
So don't point fingers, but let's try and resolve this.
We don't have to have a unanimous vote.
we need some kind of vote, and nobody is agreeing to anything. I've said a couple of things. Commissioner Hall has said something. The mayor has said something. The only thing that I'm hearing is that you want to go to revenue neutral and reduce that even more to that 26%. But what is that going to look like if you do that for the town moving forward? What is that going to look like for the staff if you do that moving forward? What is that going to look like for the projects that we have that we need to complete with roads or sidewalks and infrastructure moving forward? What is that going to look like?
The sky's not
Explain
falling. We're
what it's gonna
talking
look
about a $1 million out of a budget of $25 million.
Yeah, I have a proposal
Sure.
on the Board of Commissioners. I know we voted earlier to reduce the COLA. I propose to reduce the first line item by $105,000 and the travel by $2,000 for a total of $107,000 reduction.
What's the first line?
What's the first line item?
Sorry, what was that?
Can you just tell me the first line item?
The stipend for the elected officials.
You want to eliminate it entirely?
No, its total is $109,000. It would reduce it to $104,000. I mean, none of us here on the board are doing it for the money, I assume.
No.
Well, no.
That's what I used to buy on my
Good.
lotto
So
tickets.
it should make sense. I mean, we're talking about removing kid zones. We're talking about reducing things of $10,000. So this is a nice significant bump, and it's going to help the town, and it's going to demonstrate to the town that we're serious about making cuts.
Yeah.
Understood. Do you want to make that an official motion then? It sounds like that was an official motion.
Yeah, I make a motion to reduce the elected official stipend by $105,000 and to reduce the BOC travel by $2,000 for a total of $107,000.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay. Aye. Did we want to revisit the
No.
board stipend?
Yes. Oh, we do?
Would you like to make a motion, Commissioner Wedra? Or, sorry,
No?
Commissioner Westlake?
Actually, I think it's me that has to withdraw it because
Well, we voted on it. So,
He can make a motion to reconsider, and so that's just reopening that for discussion. And the reason that he can do that is because he made the initial motion. It's
Tonight.
the same meeting, and he was part of the winning side. So he can reopen that motion for consideration, but if you don't vote, it just remains as it is.
understood. So what action would you like to take, Commissioner Hall, then?
I'll just make a motion to reopen it for consideration. My reasoning is because we made the motion very quickly and there wasn't an opportunity for discussion.
So does that mean we want to vote on it again, or are we saying we should look at it and see how it fits in with the budget?
What he's doing is asking for more discussion on it, if anybody wants to discuss it.
Okay. And a revote occurs at that point, then?
Yes.
Yes.
It's
He
a-
can make a motion to revote, and the vote can be the same or it can be different.
Okay, very well. Any questions or concerns regarding the topic on the board stipend?
Well, I was not clear on what we were voting on, and I was asking for clarification because I had already made the motion to remove the COLA increase, so I was not clear what the actual motion was that we were doing, and I think, did you say the same?
No, I said I thought I thought that it was reduced by 4,000, and I didn't know that it was 100 and,
Reduced to 4,000.
right.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't know.
Okay, so it sounds like we should vote on that again. Is that your request, Commissioner Hall?
Well, I was opening it for discussion so that we could, so that everybody was clear on what I said, because I think not everybody was clear.
Okay.
So, discuss.
Okay.
Well,
So-
I would say that for myself, I work a full-time job. I take off, I use my personal and vacation time to do a lot of these extra meetings. I also attend sit on the DWA board. I sit on the parks, the Friends of Parks and Trails. It's a lot of extra time that I cannot do without some additional stipend for that time.
Understood. Any other comments before we vote on this again? All righty.
Well, is someone making a motion?
Do we need a motion?
Well, I
or-
think while we're under discussion, should we discuss reducing it to something? Because I'm for, obviously you know where my head's at, but I would like to hear from everybody else.
Well, we certainly all agreed, I think earlier, even when this whole thing started, I think we all agreed that we wouldn't apply the COLA to the board salaries or the board stipends.
It would be removed.
Yeah, we would.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of the baseline of where this whole budget discussion started. So it's really just a matter of, do we want to entertain the idea of reducing it some amount, or are we okay leaving it as is?
Well, I mean, I think we should treat ourselves the same way we treat staff. So, if the rate we've selected reduces things for staff, it should also reduce things for us proportionally. I mean,
I do
we
agree.
should share the burden.
We're not reducing staff, are we?
Not reducing anything on
No. What
staff,
he's
so-
saying is the percentage that's being reduced would be commensurate with the elected official stipend line item.
Exactly.
You have a motion that was adopted, made and approved to reduce the stipend by the COLA, which was about $3,800.
Yeah.
You had a second motion to completely do away with the stipend with the exception of $4,000. So if you want to change it, I would suggest if you want to keep the stipend, just make a motion to keep the stipend at the current level.
I would make a
You've already got
motion
a
to keep
motion
the
to-
stipend at the current level.
All in favor of the motion to keep the stipend at the current level?
Oh, sorry.
Well, is that, Jason's got to do it? Sorry.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, I thought we were still having a conversation with, because Commissioner Don had made a recommendation that it be reduced in proportion. So I was curious what
The
that.
3% COLA is technically what everybody was going up. We weren't cutting anyone's pay. So
Okay.
nobody's pay was being cut, so to take away the COLA from the board essentially mirrors then the delays that we were proposing earlier. So,
Right. Well, I mean,
If you're fine with
look,
it.
out of consideration to Commissioner Westlock, if she wants to go with the usual board stipend, I'm supportive.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going with the board stipend and reducing the COLA? I mean, not reducing, but
eliminating it.
eliminating the
I
COLA.
mean, you've already
Is that-
taken
Is that what you,
the
is
COLA
We already
that
did
what
that.
you'd like to do? Is that what you? Yes.
That was
yeah.
one of your earlier votes. All you got to decide is if you want to put the stipend back in at the current level.
Okay.
Okay, so I think it'd be easier if I just go ahead and completely withdraw, make a motion to withdraw my motion, and then we'll correct it with.
Is that satisfactory then, the withdrawal? Very well.
So are you going to make a substitute motion?
No, I'm not.
He just withdrew his motion.
Perfect.
Well, I hope you all feel that we are standing up for the staff here, at least some of us are. I mean, I was part of this board when our staff, when the town won an award, right, for one of the best places to work in Charlotte. And so here we are, and our staff is so unhappy. And we don't have very many people in Waxhaw sitting in this audience right now. I wonder if they heard what was going on, who they would be siding with at this point. And so I will continue to support the staff. I am not going to go with the revenue neutral rate.
Nobody has to be let go with this proposal, with the cuts that I'm talking about. The shuttles is $46,000. The kid zone, minus $30,000. Autumn Treasures to one day, when you include staff that doesn't have to work that day, police staff that does not have to work that day, that's adds to that. We have a learning center ribbon cutting. Subtract $6,000 from that. I think the number was $7,000. We don't need to do that. We could just cut a ribbon. We have the new trail ribbon cutting. It was, I think, $5,000. We can cut that down to $2,000. We can look at this data analytics. Do we really need data analytics? That's $8,000. Wingspan, it's a leadership program. Can we find free leadership programs and subtract $12,900? That does not affect staff employment. So the economy's not great. People are suffering out there. I'm looking to give people their raises, all of that. But we have to cut the fat. If there is fat in the budget, let's just cut that. That's all I'm saying.
I move to adopt a revenue neutral rate of 26.2.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
And what's the plan to accomplish that? What are the cuts? Because the whole staff is here, they're ready to hear it. And, I mean,
I've suggested the cuts. You
today
don't
will be
agree with
some
them,
people's
and you won't
last
give us a
day.
rate.
And so you need to be prepared for that.
What I'm telling you is that we've suggested negotiating on some cuts. There's been nothing but crickets on that side of this dais. And
That's,
now,
again, materially false. We've actually approved some of the things you recommended, and we've talked about
okay, so the
these
bigger
items.
ticket items you don't agree with, so what would you
pushing
do?
the police back 6 months, I don't
Okay.
agree with that.
So what would you do then? What rate are you comfortable with?
I'm comfortable with a rate that protects the staff.
Okay, what, in your eyes, what rate is that?
Setting the town's rate is not up to Commissioner Hall, okay? There's 6 of us up here. So I'm not going to fall into that. I'm sorry.
We're
Why don't you
looking for
just stop playing
suggestions.
games and say what you want?
We're looking for suggestions on what to put a motion for.
Well, I might echo that back to you, Commissioner Dodd.
26-2 is on the table. 26-2 was voted on. I heard 2 yays, and I heard nothing on this side. By law, that means you're approving it. So I didn't hear any votes. You asked a
I think
question.
it's just in the discussion.
Exactly. So the question has been answered. We have 2 yays. Do we have nays? A failure to vote is a yes.
No. Did you have another question? Okay, was your question answered?
Then 26-2 passes.
26-2 does not pass. Okay.
So ask all
Is that a vote,
opposed so that you
or-
make sure that you have the vote. Everybody's voted on it.
All right, we'll do a roll call vote then. 26-2 roll call vote. Commissioner Dodd.
Aye.
Commissioner Wedra.
Aye.
Commissioner McMillan.
No.
Commissioner Westlake.
No.
And Commissioner Hall.
No, I will not vote for something without a plan.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I think what has been clear is Commissioner Daunt, and I'm not sure about Commissioner Wedra, don't want to speak for her, are not willing to go higher than the revenue neutral. And there are some of us who do not want to be the only ones that vote for a certain rate. And so we're going to be basically the ones held responsible, and we don't want to do that. We want a unanimous decision.
Well, I'm not setting any conditions saying that it has to be unanimous, so why do you think that you can dictate to us?
Okay, well, my vote for a revenue neutral would be no.
Richard, I think the work that you guys did on the 31 tax rate it makes a lot of sense. And you put a lot of good work into it, and the staff put a lot of good work in it too. But I think what you're seeing is the result of just the constant, the three of us aren't going to set the rate. In my opinion, this is an important rate for the town, and it should be a unanimous vote. But I don't think we're going to get a unanimous vote on the 31. And so you're not going to see us vote on it.
You don't get to dictate our votes to us.
And the three of us, well, I was going to speak for these two, but I mean, I'm not going to be the sole one. Commissioner Jason Hall is not going to set the rate for the town of Waxhaw. Personally, I feel that because this is an important vote, it probably should be unanimous. We probably should be a unanimous board on a rate like this. But I'm not going to be the one that sticks my neck out this time. I keep looking over here to the wall, the Waxhaw wall, wondering what's going to be what are they doing? 262 isn't feasible. I think, you're nodding your head, and staff agrees. You put a lot of work into the plan you proposed, and it presents a lot of cuts. We've made more cuts tonight. Probably some I'm learning maybe we shouldn't. And interestingly, it doesn't pass unanimously. So, I mean, this is where we are. If it goes to the LGC, I think, you correct me if I'm wrong, if it goes to the LGC, I think that what's going to happen is it's going to go to the previous year's rate, which is 38.5. And then I'm going to look to my right here and say, this is what happened.
Yes, the LGC can set the rate,
Mm-hmm.
and it will.
So when it comes to any other vote of consequence, the three of you are quite happy to vote together against us, vote for your developer friends. But on this, now all of a
You're
sudden you
making
need us.
statements that are inaccurate and untrue. Please do not do that. Let's stick to the facts and the information in front of us. That is not true.
It is true.
Richard, could you tell the board what happens if they fail to adopt a budget?
You're required by law to adopt it, but if you can't adopt it, the statutes also require that you adopt an interim budget until such time as you can adopt a budget.
And
Normally what
that just
happens in
makes things
an
messier,
interim
too.
budget is you would set the expenditures at the same rate as the current budget year. So there would be no raises, no. But you got other issues like, the cost of streetlights, utilities, cost of insurance has gone up. So you would still have to find some way to cover those additional costs that you're facing next year. And the LGC does not like, for our boards to adopt those type of budgets. They want you to adopt a formal budget. You want to stay as far off of their radar as you can.
That's what I was just trying to
Definitely
explain
don't
to
wanna end
Jason
up
about
on
you want
their
to stay
watch
out of the
list.
LGC's range.
Yeah. Does anyone have a recommended rate that they're looking for? I can sit here all night, people.
I would just strongly suggest that you don't put yourself in a position where you have to adopt an interim budget. I think that will cause you problems down the road. I don't know how you make a compromise as to what rate you choose. Maybe 30 cents is the option, and that still gives you additional money for capital. It meets all the staffing requirements that you have deemed as needed.
So 30 cents would get us about 500,000, little under maybe, for capital improvements. Can I get a motion for a 30-cent budget rate?
Cindy, can you bring up the statutes dealing with an interim budget, how that works?
I have never been involved advising a town that has not passed a budget. And I'm happy to research what happens if you fail to pass a budget, but I know that the LGC will get involved, and that is not a place where you want to be.
I can assure you, the less attention you bring on yourself by the local government commission, you are better off. I've got some right here that just says, let's see, North Carolina local governments operating on a fiscal year from July 1st to June 30th are required to adopt a balanced annual budget by June 30th. If a budget ordinance cannot be adopted by the start of the fiscal year, the governing body must adopt an interim budget to cover essential expenses until the full annual budget is approved. And it says, an interim budget's sole purpose is to ensure the local government can continue to operate, covering necessary expenses like salaries, debt service payments, and usual ordinary expenses during the period before the final budget is adopted. Interim budgets do not permit new spending or appropriations. They are solely for keeping the government functioning. And interim budget must be adopted by the governing board in a public meeting. While there's no requirement for public display or a public hearing for the interim budget itself, the full annual budget process does involve public input. When a final budget is adopted, it supersedes the interim budget, and all appropriations from the interim budget should be incorporated into the final budget.
Okay, we're back in session. So I'm just going to summarize what the statutes say. The statutes say that if you cannot adopt a budget, that you must, and I just want to emphasize, must adopt an interim budget. But with an interim budget, you're still at risk because I'm just going to read to you from the School of Government. Interim appropriations may not be used to levy property taxes or impose new fees or charges. Delaying budget ordinance adoption for a significant period of time may impact revenue streams to the unit for the fiscal year. Interim appropriations also may not be used to authorize new functions, activities, or projects. Perhaps most significantly, failure to adopt a budget ordinance may send a negative signal about the stability of the government to lenders, contractors, vendors, and others. So this is significant. Also, if a unit's governing body does not adopt a budget ordinance and it does not make interim appropriations, the local government commission will get involved, and the Local Government Act authorizes the LGC to assume full control of a unit's financial affairs. And full control means they do everything. And you will not be able to have control over any of your financial affairs. So it's serious when the local government LGC gets involved. Richard, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I'd add one thing. If you do adopt that budget, you cannot set a tax rate. Union County bills and collects our tax rates. They're waiting July 1st for that rate. Since you can't set a tax rate with an interim budget, you can't collect and bill taxes. You can't charge fees. You can't charge building permit fees. You can't charge any fees. So your budget for that short period of time, whether it's a week or a month or several months, basically comes out of your fund balance.
And
So you're spending your savings to keep the basic expenditures of the town moving forward.
It'll also affect your bond rating significantly, which is something to consider.
So Union County, if you can't bill them on time and the bills go out late because we're late setting the rate, then they're going to get paid at a later date. But by statute, as of January the 5th, you're supposed to still start charging, penalties for the taxes being late, or you're going to tell your citizens, well, we were late, but you still got to pay your penalties. It just causes all kind of issues and problems. I mean, I'm just concerned if you can't adopt a regular budget, is this board even capable of adopting an interim budget?
Well, the goal is to adopt a budget. That's what we're here to do tonight. So I would encourage the board to have whatever discussion they need to have amongst the board to come to a conclusion as to what we want to do. We kind of went round and round, up and down the board with a couple different rates. We've voted on a few and turned them all down. So I would look for the board to propose another suitable rate that the entire board can agree on, or at least a majority of the board can agree on.
So we were talking about a 30-cent rate, and we've received unexpected revenue that gets us about 2 more cents, right? So if you go down from 30 cents, that's to 28 cents. And then to get to revenue neutral would be another 1.8 cents, which is about $1,200,000, something like that.
Yeah, about 1.5 probably.
So I think we could, if we were to delay raises, make some other cuts, I think we could get to revenue neutral. I mean, that's the rate we're looking for, and I'm not going to be dictated to by other members of this board as to what my vote should be.
One of you groups needs to decide to move on this, and all you got to do is move a little. Move a freaking little. That's all I'm asking for.
We have gone
Someone's
from
gotta move.
31
Make a move.
30 to 29. We have gone from 31 to 30 to 29. Now, if we do not have an agreement at the 29, then we can make a motion to adjourn.
We're not adjourning.
Or we can make a motion to adjourn, okay? Or you can make a motion for an interim budget. But we're not going to sit here and make accusations and point fingers and say things that are untrue. I'm not going to sit here and be accused of things that is not true and that I am not doing. So we can either go along with the interim town manager's suggestion at 31 or 30 or 29, or you can propose an interim budget, or you can make a motion to adjourn. But that's it.
Let's keep this constructive. Let's keep it on topic. We're looking for a rate, and a rate that'll keep the lights on and the town happy with the amount of service that they've been getting. What rate do we want to approve? Someone say something.
The last suggestion I heard from the interim town manager, once again, was 29. He has gone from 31 to 30 to 29. That's what I heard. Am I correct, sir? Thank you, sir.
Can I get a motion for setting the tax rate at 29?
I make a motion for the original budget tonight of 31 cents with none of the cuts that were made tonight.
All in favor? The motion's been made for 31 cents. The motion's been made. All in favor? Roll call vote. Started on that end last time. We'll start on this. And Commissioner Hall what's your vote on 31 cents?
Nay.
Commissioner Hall? Sorry?
Nay.
Nay. Commissioner Westlake? A pass is a yes. Commissioner Wedra?
No.
And Commissioner Daunt? No. All righty, so that was a no to 31. We had a no on 30. 28.6 was the halfway point between revenue neutral and 31, which is why I was suggesting 29. I will ask another time. Can I get a motion for 29 cents?
I make a motion for the original 32 cents that was presented at the very first budget meeting that included the captain position for the police department.
Motion on the table for 32-cent tax budget. Keeping it fair, we'll just go back and forth. Roll call vote. Commissioner Daunt, 32 cents on the tax budget. Nay. Commissioner Wedra?
Nope.
Commissioner McMillan? Commissioner Westlake? Yes, and Commissioner Hall?
Nay.
No. So no to 32 cents. So based on my data, it's getting colder the higher we get. I need some movement, people. This has to pass. It has to pass tonight. It's going to pass one way or the other. If we don't pass this, it goes very bad very quickly.
All right, 29 cents
I tried that.
is a compromise. I think this side can say we beat y'all down from 31 to 29. This side can say we were at 31 or 32 and we went all the way down to 29 after they beat us down. I mean, I think neither side's going to win. I think this just happens to be one of those situations where, you're going to end up with a budget neither side's happy with.
Which
But
is a typical
I
indicator.
beg you, don't go the interim budget
No.
route. I mean, it just causes all kind of problems. Like I said, you can't set a tax rate. If I read that right, you can't charge fees. So if a person comes in and wants a building permit, you can't issue it because you can't charge them a fee for it. Basically, you're just going to pay the staff and keep the lights on. Then your staff's going to be sitting here doing nothing. Because they can't provide any services because you can't charge people for it.
I'll make a motion for 29 cents.
The motion has been made for a tax rate of 29 cents. All in favor? I heard one.
Do a roll call.
Roll call vote. Did I? All right. 29 cents. We will vote for a third time on 29 cents. Commissioner Daunt, how say you? That was one yes. Commissioner Wedra, 29 cents. What say you? Aye. McMillan? That's a hand up. Looks like a yes. Commissioner Westlake? That's a yes. And Commissioner Hall?
Aye.